Good morning, everybody. I think we're going to start despite the weather. Our keynote is on campus, but otherwise our speakers are here. So I just want to welcome you all, particularly the guest students from outside AUB and our colleagues from the Lebanese University. Thank you all for coming. I just want to give a few words about what is this convening about and what is its framework. For more than a year, even a little bit more than a year, the Asfari Institute partnered with UN Women on a very interesting initiative that basically focused on women's political participation in Lebanon. And this initiative involved a number of activity, and the last one is what we're launching now. A number of activities that involved young people using different tools and different methods to basically promote women's political participation. And as we saw that there is a need for knowledge, for solid learning, for robust information on political participation, we are ending this initiative with in launching this course that will be basically a long-term impact of this initiative, which is Voices and Vision. It's an online, self-paced course on the role of women in shaping Lebanese politics. We're very proud of this. It took quite a long time to develop. I want to thank primarily also our young colleague Tala Nassif, who's going to talk about this course, which is going to be available all the time available. It's a self-paced course, so it's going to be all the time available, open source on our website. So without further ado, I want to give the floor to our partner, to Jaylan El-Masiri, the country representative in Lebanon, to share with us a little bit her thoughts about this initiative and also more broadly about UN Women's work. Jaylan?
Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here. I always feel like I'm in my second home when I'm at the Asfari Institute, so it's very nice to see everybody. And I sometimes follow when I can't come to AUB because the traffic is typically really bad. Sometimes I attend the online classes. So the online is really good as well. Don't underestimate how many people are watching online, because I typically join online when you have those sessions during a Tuesday in the middle of the afternoon. I can't come to AUB, so I do the online. Thank you very much, Lena. Thank you for the introduction. And I guess, honorable members of parliament, Dr. Najat Aoun Saliba, Dr. Lina Abu Habib, director of the Asfari Institute, Ms. Valerie Sarah Price, so nice to have you with us, counselor and head of international cooperation at the Embassy of Canada, and Ms. Lamia Moubayed, very nice to have all of you with us today, partners, distinguished guests. It's a pleasure to join you today for the launch of the educational course, Voices and Visions, the role of women in shaping Lebanese politics. I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to the Asfari Institute for Civil Society and Citizenship for hosting this event and for the strong partnership and collaboration with UN Women and UNDP in implementing this initiative. This initiative is part of a broader program that is focusing on advancing women's leadership and political participation that is funded by the Government of Canada, through which several other initiatives have been supported. I'd also like to express our deep appreciation to the Government of Canada for its long-standing and principled support to gender equality, women's leadership, and inclusive governance in Lebanon. This course could not be more timely. Lebanon stands at a critical political juncture with upcoming parliamentary elections in 2026 and the development of the second National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security that we hope to see, we hope it will be launched beginning of next year. These moments are not merely procedural milestones, they are opportunities to rethink who participates in political life, whose voices shape public decisions, and how power itself is exercised and contested. Lebanese women have been active political actors for more than a century, from early struggles for suffrage to their leadership in social movements, political organizing, and public life. Yet, as we all know, despite this long history of engagement, women remain significantly underrepresented in formal, and I underline formal, political decision-making spaces. Today, as you all know, only 8 women serve in the Lebanese parliament, just 6.25% of the 128 seats. Since independence, only 19 women have ever been elected to parliament, albeit some of them have served multiple consecutive terms. Women's representation in the executive branch has followed a similarly uneven trajectory. While this government's cabinet includes 5 women ministers out of 24, or 20.8%, earlier cabinets have seen sharp regression. Of the 88 governments formed since independence, only 8 have included women ministers. At the local level, progress has been incremental but remains limited. Following the May 2025 municipal and Mukhtar elections, we've seen a notable increase. Women doubled the representation on municipal councils to 10.37%, up from 5.4% in 2016. And I think what's also very notable is the number of women who are running for elections. These figures stand in stark contrast to women's educational attainment, civic engagement, and their leadership in community resilience and crisis response across the country. The persisting gap between participation and representation does not reflect a lack of competence, ambition, or leadership among women. Rather, it is the result of deeply entrenched structural, social, and institutional barriers, including the absence of an electoral quota, patriarchal political party structures, high campaign costs, unequal access to media, and increasingly violence against women in politics, both online and offline. These barriers are also not experienced equally. Young women, women from marginalized regions, women with disabilities, and women outside traditional political families face compounded and intersecting forms of exclusion. Addressing women's political participation, therefore, requires not only numerical representation, but intersectional and systemic change. At UN Women, we strongly believe that education is a foundational entry point for political transformation. Gender equality is not only a policy objective, it is also a field of knowledge, a critical analytical lens, and a set of practices that must be taught, debated, and applied. Gender theory enables us to interrogate power, representation, and exclusion. Gender praxis challenges us to translate these insights into action within real political systems, such as Lebanon's complex and highly institutionalized governance structures. This course is therefore not about observing politics from a distance. It's an invitation to question power, challenge exclusion, and imagine alternative models of leadership and governance. It asks students not only what politics is, but what it could and should be. I want to thank you for your engagement, and I would also encourage you, as many students as possible, to take the online course and to let us know. It's not set in stone, so if there's any feedback, we'd be also happy to work on improving it. Thank you.
I just noticed that 3 of our most amazing women in government and in parliament are actually Ayyubite. So we're very happy to have you all here. Abadan, no discrimination, no preference, wala shi عادي. I want to invite Valerie Sarah Price, the head of cooperation of the Embassy of Canada and our main partner in this initiative, to please share a few words.
Good morning, bonjour, and I'll try sabah al-khair. I'm honored to be here today for the launch of the Voices and Visions course, an important initiative that equips young generations with the knowledge and tools to advance women's roles in Lebanese politics. It gives me great pleasure to share this moment with such a vibrant audience. It was written young audience, but if it includes myself, I had to say just vibrant audience, alongside a group of inspiring women leaders. As we commence this event, I wish to first commend the efforts of UN Women, UNDP, and other trusted partners like the Asfari Institute, like this one. Their innovative and thoughtful approach in making this course interactive, free and online, ensures that it is accessible to everyone and flexible enough to accommodate different schedules and levels of engagement. This is an important step towards inclusive learning. This program is not just about learning, it's about shaping the future, where your voices influence decisions and your visions drive inclusive leadership. The course draws on lessons from your history, the achievements, struggles, and even painful experiences of those who paved the way, so that younger generations can build on their legacy. By showcasing women's historical and contemporary contributions to Lebanon's political life and sharing the stories of pioneering figures and current leaders, it aims to inspire you, the youth, the future of this country, to engage in politics and civic life through the lens of fairness and equality, especially gender equality. Canada is on its own journey towards a better representation of women in politics and governance. We saw our first woman member of parliament in 1921, our first woman cabinet minister in 1957, and our first female prime minister in 1993, though she was only in office for 132 days. More than 100 years after our first woman MP, we are still facing underrepresentation in parliament compared to other global leaders. I think a recent ranking was we were number 71 in terms of representation. We have 30% women in the House of Commons right now. Yet our history has shown that the leadership of women is a game changer. Quebec's our former Provincial Premier, Pauline Marois, was the founder of Quebec's public, low-cost early childhood education center, which has been a model not only across Canada, but around the world. It has enabled an entire generation of women, including myself, to participate in the workforce. This was not the case for my mother, who was only one of 2 women studying in university in mathematics, but was not able afterwards to pursue a career because she was caring for young children. Here in Lebanon, we know how women who hold office make a difference, and I feel honored to be with some of them today. I want to mention Honorable Inaya Ezzeddine, who will speak after me, who has been an inspiration in her commitment to the rights and welfare of women and children in Lebanon. I hope today's discussions inspire you to become drivers of change and help forge a more equitable and just society for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And maybe I should remind us all that Canada was the second country to have a feminist foreign policy. So we're hoping that it will continue to promote a feminist foreign policy despite everything. I'm not sure how to introduce Dr. Inaya Ezzeddine because her contributions are many. She's a scientist in her own right. She's a very active member of parliament, but she has also spearheaded public policy, if I may, that are care-centered, that actually acknowledged the burden of care on women and the need to have care-centered policies. Dr. Inaya, your alma mater, تفضلي.
وشكرا لاستضافتنا والتقدير الكبير لهالمبادرة المهمة يلي عم نطلقها اليوم يلي هي أصوات ورؤى Voices and Visions, the role of women in shaping Lebanese politics. والمتعلقة طبعاً بإدماج مفاهيم حقوق المرأة وتحديداً التمثيل السياسي للمرأة ضمن مناهج الجامعة الأمريكية ببيروت. طبعاً هون المناهج التربوية والجامعية يبدأ التغيير الحقيقي، ومن هذه النقطة بالذات ينطلق مسار تحويل القضايا إلى نسق متكامل، a whole system, complete system، بحيث يصبح التعاون بين مختلف الجهود أمراً طبيعياً يقود إلى التغيير المنشود، بدلاً لأنه التجزئة والتفرقة والأكشن according على بناءً على مبدأ ردات الفعل بيسمح بأنه تسقط علينا المفاهيم كأنه بالباراشوت، يعني ما بيعود عنا تخطيط ونحن عمالة عارفين حالنا شو عم ندرس. يسمح لكل الاشياء تنزل علينا حسب اجندات نحن مش من اولوياتنا او قد تكون متناقضه مع اولوياتنا. وكما نعلم جميعاً فإن محاولة معالجة القضايا الإنسانية والمجتمعية والاقتصادية والسياسية، وهي قضايا شديدة التعقيد، عبر أجندات معدة سلفاً مثل ما عم نحكي لأنه نحن ما بنكون ساهمنا فيها، أو وصفات جاهزة ready made meals مثل ready made meals، مثل الفرق بين كيف بناخد وجبة جاهزة أو وجبة نحن عم نحضرها. تخيلوا شو بيتطلب إنه نحن نحضر وجبة نحن عم نحضرها، كيف بنفكر، شو عم نجيب منتجات، من وين عم بتجيبهم، كيف بدنا نطبخهم، كيف بدنا نأمن حقهم، كيف بدنا نوصل لإلهم. هيدا المسار كتير مهم، بين فرق إنه نحن عم ناكل وجبة جاهزة ما بنعرف كيف اجت ومن وين اجت وشو مفعولها وقديش رح نقدر نستمر فيها. انا عم بحكي هيدا من وحي كوني المنسقه الوطنيه للنظم الغذائيه، واشتغلنا نحن وست جيلان على هالموضوع، على موضوع الاهميه الاستدامه ومع انيشيت كمان. طبعا هيدا الاسلوب تبع ريدي ميد، تبع الوصفات الجاهزه التي تعطى للمجتمعات، هو ما لا يجدي نفعاً، بل يجعل المجتمعات تراوح مكانها. ولعل أبرز مثال على ذلك هو قضايا المرأة وتحديداً تمكينها السياسي. من هنا فإن إدماج مفاهيم حقوق المرأة في المناهج التربوية والجامعية يعتبر خطوة أساسية وجوهرية وتأسيسية للمسار الصحيح، وأن تتم هذه الخطوة في الجامعة الأمريكية في بيروت له دلالات كثيرة، كمان مش من باب التعصب للألما ماتر تبعنا، لأنه الدلالة الأولى أننا في مؤسسة رائدة في مجال تمكين النساء، جامعة لم تكتفي بالشعارات والكليشيهات، بل اتخذت خطوات لم تقدم عليها مؤسسات أكاديمية أخرى. وبتمنى، أنا عاملة سيرش على هالموضوع، وبتمنى أنه يلي رح أقوله يكون عم يتطبق بالفعل. سألت عنه قالوا لي في إشي عم تتطبق، ما بيعرفوا عن الأشياء التانية. فالجامعة الأمريكية، وهي على الأرجح الوحيدة في لبنان أو من الجامعات القليلة في المنطقة التي اعتمدت سياسات مؤسسية لإلغاء التمييز ضد المرأة، نذكر منها إقرار سياسة المساواة في الرواتب بين النساء والرجال، اعتماد برامج لدعم المرأة في الأبحاث العلمية، تخصيص جائزة للعمداء الذين يدعمون الباحثات، اعتماد إجازة أمومة تمتد فصلاً أكاديمياً كاملاً. ونحن هلأ عنا اقتراح قانون بمجلس النواب لنمدد إجازة الأمومة وندخل إجازة الأبوة، وأيضاً التشايلد كير سبسيدي، لحتى تقدر الأمهات العاملات إنه يوفقوا بين هالحقين، بأن تكون المرأة أم وأن تكون عاملة ومطمنة على الولد يلي عم تحطه بالحضانة، بدل الإجازة يلي نحن هلأ عنا إياها 70 يوم فقط في القانون اللبناني. دمج مبادئ دعم المرأة في الأنظمة الداخلية للجامعة، تخصيص غرف للرضاعة الطبيعية ومستلزماتها، وبعتقد LAU كمان عندها هيدا الشيء، أخذ ظروف المرأة مثل الولادة في الاعتبار عند تقييم الترقية الأكاديمية عبر اعتماد نظام الكلوك فريز وتجميد الساعة الأكاديمية. كل ذلك يضفي على اعتماد هذا الكورس، هذا المقرر الدراسي، مصداقية كبيرة. والدلالة الثانية أن هذه القضية حين تتحول إلى مقرر دراسي وإلى كورس تدرس في الجامعة الأمريكية في بيروت، فإنها ستخضع بالضرورة، لأنه نحن فيني أقول المجتمع الطلابي هو مجتمع يعني انكوبيتر للأفكار وللنقاش وللنقد، فهي تخضع بالضرورة إلى المنهجية النقدية التي تعلمناها هنا، حيث لا وجود للمسلمات، وكل القضايا والأفكار تخضع للمساءلة والنقاش الدقيق والمقاربة من مختلف الزوايا. وهنا اسمحوا لي أن أشارككم بعضاً من هذا النقد. أولاً، إن قضايا المرأة كما ذكرنا، أنا عم روح بسرعة مشان ما تتأخروا بالبروجرام، إن قضايا المرأة لا يمكن إسقاطها على المجتمعات كأنها جدول أعمال معلب، بل يفترض أن تتولد عن ديناميات داخلية وتفاعل عوامل اجتماعية وثقافية وسياسية واقتصادية ودينية. وأنا بقول دينية لأنه نحن بمنطقتنا وببلادنا هناك تفسير ذكوري للأديان، منشان هيك نحن لازم نخضعها كمان تكون جزء من الحوار. ونحن مجتمعات فينا نقول فيث، يعني في عندنا مجتمعات مؤمنة، نحن بلاد نزلت فيها كل الرسالات السماوية، مش غريب أنه تكون المؤسسات الدينية جزء من هذا النقاش حول قضايا المرأة، لأنه هناك تفسير ذكوري للأمور الدينية ولواقع المرأة في الأديان. وهي تفرز، هذه النقاشات تفرز بدورها الأولويات، وهذا للأسف لم يحصل في بلداننا، ولذلك طال أمد استقرار أشكال التمييز ضد النساء وغياب العدالة والإنصاف تجاههن. ما حصل هو أن العناوين المطروحة اليوم عالمياً حول حقوق المرأة جاءت نتيجة تفاعلات اجتماعية وسياسية واقتصادية وثقافية شهدتها المجتمعات الأوروبية بعد الحرب العالمية الثانية، ونحن مجتمعاتنا ما كانت جزء منها، وبالتالي بعضها قد لا يكون مناسبا. وانا عم بحكي عن تجربه لما بيجوا لعندي. طبعا نحن بموجب عوامل الصداقه والشراكه مع كل الدول يلي نحن اصدقاء معها وفي تعاون بيجي اوقات اجندات او مطالب بنقول طب نحن شو خصنا فيها، مثلا مثل موضوع ختان الاناث، انه بلبنان هيدي الشغله مش مطروحه. انا مره اجى حدا طرح علي هاي الموضوع، يا عمي نحن ما عندنا هالمشكله بلبنان، هيدا موجود ببلاد ثانيه. فهذا يتطلب انه يكون في معرفه بهذه المجتمعات، ومجتمعاتنا تناقش اجندات التعاون واولوياتها مع كل صديق وشريك عالمي ودولي يريد ان يساعدنا على معالجه امور النساء وغيرها من الامور في لبنان. وبالتالي قد تكون بعض هذه الطروحات يلي كانت موجودة مثلا بأوروبا ما بتناسب مجتمعاتنا ما بعد الحرب العالمية الثانية، وتختلف في أوضاعها الاقتصادية وقيمها وثقافتها وعاداتها وسياقاتها التاريخية. لأنه بحب لكم السياق التاريخي أوقات بيكون أهم من الحدث بنفسه والبروسيس يلي بتاخده الأمور. نحن كلنا بنعرف أوقات كتير البروسيس أهم من النتيجة، لأنه هو يلي بيحقق أول شيء بحط إيدنا على النقاط الأساسية، هو اللي بيعمل نضج للأفكار وبيساعدنا أنه نعمل تصحيح لآلياتنا وأيضا تصويب لأهدافنا، مع التذكير بأن المنظومة السياسية والاقتصادية والفكرية التي نتجت عن الحرب العالمية الثانية وبعد مفاعيلها لهلأ بالموضوع الثقافي والفكري عكست موازين قوى المتصارعة آنذاك واللي انتصرت آنذاك، ونحن برجع بذكر لم نكن طرفا في ذلك وبقينا نايمين يعني. لكن أليست الحقوق هي الحقوق في كل العالم ولو نسبياً، كما نص الإعلان العالمي لحقوق الإنسان الذي جاء متناسباً إلى حد كبير مع مختلف الشعوب؟ بين هذين الحدين يجب أن نتحرك في بلداننا، أن ننطلق من مبادئ حقوقية عالمية وإنسانية وثوابت تاريخية مع مراعاة خصوصيات المجتمعات والبلدان. ويبقى من الثابت تاريخياً أن النساء ظلمنا وهمشنا عبر التاريخ، وأن إنصافهن ضرورة لصالح الإنسان والمجتمع والقيم الإنسانية، ولصالح مصالحنا المادية والرفاهية والتنمية المستدامة، ولصالح الأجيال القادمة والرجال والأسرة والأوطان. بدون المرأة هيدي كلها ما فيها إنه يعني تحصل على مصالحها وتنمي قدراتها كما يجب. ثانياً، لا شك في أن وصول المرأة إلى مواقع القرار السياسي أمر ضروري لتحقيق ما أنهينا به النقطة السابقة، لكنه ليس كافياً. فقد أثبتت التجربة أن وجود النساء في مواقع القرار التنفيذي والتشريعي والحزبي والنقابي لن يكون ذا معنى حقيقي أو فعالية فعلية ما لم يترافق مع إعادة تعريف المرأة نفسها لمعنى السياسة والاقتصاد والإدارة والعمل الحزبي والنقابي. نحن علينا هالمسؤولية طبعاً ضمن خطة، ضمن أنه نحدد أولوياتنا ونختار معاركنا، لأنه في معارك بنختارها فيها تطحنا، في معارك بنمشي عليها شوي 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 وبنوصل، بحيث تصبح هذه المجالات والسياسة وكل هالأمور هي خدمة للناس ورعاية لهم ولإدارة مصالح الناس والخير العام، الكومن جود يلي لازم يكون حاصل بكثير من الأمور بمجتمعنا. وللأسف كثير من الحقوق الإنسانية ما بنعتبرها لبنان كومن جود، بعدها خاضعة لمبادئ المصالح، خلينا نقول بس هيك. وهذا تحديداً ما نحن بأمس الحاجة إليه في لبنان. ثالثاً، يجب أن نتعامل مع قضية المرأة بوصفها قضية مجتمعية جامعة وقضية عدالة اجتماعية. إن أخطر ما نتعرض له هو منطق تفتيت القضايا، ونحن كتير شاطرين ببلادنا، كل شيء is fragmented، سياساتنا مجزأة مش متواصلة مع بعضها، ما في تشاركية، ما في وشراكة، إذ ينتج هذا التفتيت حدوداً داخل المجتمع بدل بناء جسور بين مكوناته وبين قطاعات الحكومة نفسها. بنشوف في تجزئة، مع أنه لازم يكون في في إدارة ببعض الأمور اللي فيها أوفرلاب، إدارة مشتركة لحتى كل واحد يعرف شو هي مسؤوليته وصلاحياته، وأيضا مساءلته حدودها وين بتوقف. فمثلا وهذا يخلق أيضا توترات وتناقضات بدل بلورة قواسم مشتركة. فنجد مثلا نحكي بواقع المرأة أن التمكين الاقتصادي يوضع في مواجهة دور الأمومة، بدل أنه نحضر البنية التحتية الاجتماعية والتشريعية والتنفيذية لحتى تمتلك المرأة الحق في ممارسة هذين الدورين. ويوضع أيضا التمثيل السياسي للمرأة في مواجهة الرجل الذي يعتبر أن السياسة شأنا ذكوريا، وحقوق المرأة في مواجهة الأسرة، وهكذا ندخل جميعا في متاهة. رابعاً، على ذكر المتاهة، نستحضر نظرية المتاهة The Labyrinth Theory، لأنه بالجامعة بسمح لحالي أحكي هالأشياء، بمحل تاني يمكن ما بقدر أحكيها. لعالمة النفس أليس إيغلي يلي بتقول، وهي قدمت توصيف دقيق للعوائق التي تحول دون وصول النساء إلى مواقع القرار. هذه العوائق ليست حاجزاً واحداً ثابتاً كما في السقف الزجاجي يعني الجلاس سيلينج، لا، هي أعقد من هيك. هي متاهة معقدة لابيرنث مليئة بمسارات متعددة، بعضها مسدود وبعضها يتطلب التفافاً طويلاً أو جهداً مضاعفاً. وما قدمته إيغلي يبدو فواقعياً إلى حد كبير من خلال تجربتي في العمل السياسي في لبنان الوزاري والبرلماني. وفي لبنان من الضروري أيضاً استحضار ما توصلت إليه أستاذة القانون الأمريكي كيمبرلي كرينشو، التي اعتبرت أن المرأة لا تعاني من شكل واحد من التمييز، بل من تقاطع عوامل متعددة تنتج أشكالاً مركبة من التمييز وطبقات متداخلة من الحواجز، وهو ما يمكن وصفه بالزجاج المزدوج double glass ceiling. والمرأة اللبنانية تعمل ضمن نظام سياسي تمييزي قائم على أساس الطائفية، ما يجعل وصولها إلى مواقع القرار أكثر تعقيداً، ويضعها في الوقت نفسه أمام تحدي حقيقي يتمثل في ضرورة وفي سياق إعادة تعريف السياسة يتطلب منها أن تعمل من أجل إصلاح النظام السياسي والاقتصادي والقانوني والانتخابي، لا أن تتحول عند وصولها إلى جزء من النظام بما يحمله من تشوهات قاتلة كما تكشفه التجارب والوقائع التي نعيشها اليوم. وكمان هون بقول إنه هيدي الخطوة بدنا نشتغلها خطوة، يعني نحن طبعاً بنطالب بالمساواة من باب المساواة والحق بالمساواة، ولكن حتى وجودنا يكون فعال في التغيير يجب أنه نعمل يعني نروح بهالاتجاه هيدا. خامساً، لا شك أن الطريق معقد ومتغير، لكن الصحيح أيضاً أن القوانين هي من المداميك الأساسية لتعبيد الطريق وتسهيل الرحلة. القوانين تغير السلوك، وفي مسألة التمثيل السياسي فإن إصلاح القوانين أحد أهم البدايات الضرورية، وتظهر التجربة ومنها تجربتي الخاصة أن وصول المرأة إلى مواقع القرار يحظى، ما يقولوا لكم ما بدها الناس بدها، يحظى بقبول كبير لدى الناس ألمسه من الرجال والنساء ومن العاملات وربات المنازل ومن رجال الدين وغيرهم. مشكلة مش هون، لكن في المقابل لم تكن تجربة الأحزاب في لبنان مشجعة في هذا المجال، إذ شابه الكثير من النفاق، قالوا ولم يفعلوا. وانتم بتعرفوا بالدورة السابقة لما كنا بدنا نعدل قانون الانتخاب لندخل الكوتا شو صار؟ وكبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. لذلك فإن الكوتا تضع الأمور في نصابها الصحيح وتأتي متسقة مع قناعات شرائح غير قليلة من المجتمع. ويجب أيضاً العمل على أن تشمل الكوتا مواقع القرار الحزبي والنقابي، وأن تشهد الأحزاب حراكاً نسائياً فاعلاً للتأثير في قراراتها. سادساً، إن منهج التشاركية هو ما يعطي تنفيذ القوانين وتحويلها إلى واقع يعطيه زخماً حقيقياً. التشاركية بين القطاعين العام والخاص والمجتمع المدني والبلديات والإعلام والجامعات. ولقاؤنا اليوم هو ترجمة عملية لهذا المنطق التشاركي، فالجامعة الأمريكية بالتعاون مع مركز أسفري والحكومة الكندية والبرلمانيات اللبنانيات والUN Women والUNDP يتشاركون في هذا المشروع الذي يبرهن أيضاً أن قضايا المرأة يجب أن تبقى أولوية حتى في أصعب الظروف، بما فيها الحروب والأزمات التي مر وما زال يمر بها لبنان، بل إن الظروف الاستثنائية يجب أن تتحول إلى فرصة لنؤكد انحيازنا للحق ولنعلن موقفاً واضحاً لا لبس فيه تجاه الظلم. لأنه أنا شخصياً بشوف أنه المنظومة الفكرية دفاعنا عن الحقوق يجب أن يكون متكامل وغير مجزأ. يجب أن يكون موقفنا لا لبس فيه تجاه الظلم والاحتلال والإبادة والتدمير الممنهج وضد منطق الاستقواء والهيمنة، وخاصة بعد يلي صار وبعده عم بصير، صار بغزة وعم بصير بلبنان وبعده عم بصير بلبنان، ومن حيث الجرائم والاحتلال الذي تمارسه إسرائيل على لبنان وخاصة في الجنوب. وهي فرصة أيضا لنذكر بأن النساء هن الأكثر تضرراً في هذه الظروف. ففي لبنان مثلاً قتلت إسرائيل النساء كما الرجال فضلاً عن الأطفال، ودمرت البيوت التي هي خسارة للجميع. لكن النساء هن الأكثر معاناة في التهجير والنزوح، وهن أمهات وأزواج وزوجات وأخوات الشهداء والضحايا والجرحى والأسرى. ومن هنا يصبح واجباً علينا جميعاً أن نرفع الصوت كل من موقعه لإبقاء هذه الحقائق حية وحاضرة، وأن نجعل مطلبنا الأول والفوري هو وقف الاعتداء على لبنان الإسرائيلي على لبنان. وبالعودة إلى لقائنا اليوم، بدأنا بالحديث عن ضرورة العمل لتحويل قضايا المرأة إلى نسق متكامل full whole system يبدأ من المناهج التربوية والجامعية. ونحن اليوم بصدد إطلاق خطوة جوهرية في هذا الاتجاه. فعندما تدمج مفاهيم حقوق المرأة والمواطنة المتساوية وتمثيل النساء في مواقع القرار داخل التعليم المبكر والعالي، تتحول هذه المبادئ من شعارات إلى معايير راسخة تشكل وعياً للأجيال. وتكمن أهمية هذا التوجه في أنه يستهدف الجذور الثقافية، وهذه نقطة كتير كتير مهمة. أنا طبيبي ما بقدر أعالج مريض صح إذا ما شخصت المرض صح وعرفت أسبابه. ونحن بالعملية الاجتماعية والتطوير الاجتماعي يجب أن نعالج الأسباب الثقافية والاقتصادية الحقيقية لكثير من المظاهر ومظاهر الظلم التي تصيب النساء. في أنه يجب أن نستهدف الجذور الثقافية والمعرفية للتمييز ضد المرأة، ونضمن تخريج كوادر شابة تمتلك الوعي النقدي والقدرة على دعم مشاركة النساء في المجالين العام والسياسي. إن بناء هذا النسق التربوي المتكامل هو أحد شروط تعزيز التنمية المستدامة وتفعيل الطاقات البشرية كاملة دون إقصاء أو تهميش. وفي ختام هذا اللقاء أصوات ورؤى، نعيد التأكيد على أننا نحتاج إلى أصوات النساء وإلى رؤاهن. Voices and Visions ليس مجرد عنوان، بل دعوة مفتوحة لتوحيد الجهود وصنع مستقبل تشارك فيه النساء في صياغة القرار ومستقبل لبنان، من أجل المرأة، من أجل الأسرة، من أجل لبنان، ومن أجل الإنسان. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Thank you so much, Dr. Inaya. There is a slight change in our program, basically due because both our women MPs have received last-minute invitation to the Parliament for meetings of their parliamentary commission. And because they are serious and they do not miss these conversations, unlike others who we shall not name, they will need to leave early. So I'm going to change a little bit the program and ask our wonderful colleague, Dr. Najat Saliba. If you allow me, I always like to remind all of us of this. Dr. Saliba is also an accomplished scientist, Ayubite, a professor at AUB, who also created and implemented the concept of citizen science. She democratized science and made it something that any citizen can use. And we're very proud and happy to have you with us as always. Najat, تفضلي.
صباح الخير. افتكر democratizing science يعني إنه كل شيء بنتعلم ونعرف نطبقه، واللي هو كتير كتير مهم، منا شغلة هينة، شغلة بدها كتير واحد يعرف شو يعني المجتمع. يعني ما حدا اللي بيفكر إنه بيقدر بس ينزل كأستاذ ويعلم الناس بيكون غلطان كتير. أهم شغلة تعلمتها بقصة الديموكراتيزيشن اوف ساينس والسيتيزن ساينس إنه وقت واحد يفوت مع العالم يكون فايت ليتعلم من العالم مش ليعلم العالم، وهيدي شغلة بتغير كل الجو اللي انتم موجودين فيه. سو ما حدا يفكر انه في يفوت على اي مجتمع ليعلمهم، لازم يفوت على المجتمع ليسمعهم ولحتى يشوف كيف هن بيشتغلوا قبل ما يبلش يملي عليهم اي معلومة عنده اياها طلعها من الكتب. هيدي كتير مهمة، وهيدي بصلب اللي انتم عم تحكوه. بفتكر انه انتم كتير محظوظين انه رح تقدروا تبلوروا افكاركم بدروس مثل هيدي قبل ما تطلعوا على التطبيق، وهيدي شغله نحن ما صارت لنا. وانا بالنسبه لإلي بما انه بلشنا نفكر بهيدي الطريقه، بلشنا نفكر انه حتى السياسه هي علم مش تشبيح، نحن انا كتير متفائله انه لبنان رح يصير افضل. وهيدي صلب الموضوع، وهيدا الهدف من انه تطلعوا اصواتكم ويكون عندكم رؤى لخلق سياسات بناءة بالمجتمع وبالدولة، هو الأساس اللي نحن بدنا نبني عليه دولتنا الجديدة. من هون أنا متفائلة، ومتفائلة جدا إنه أول شيء في كتير صبايا، وإن شاء الله يكون في كمان شباب مهتمين بالموضوع، وبدنا إنه نقونن، يعني نعملها مقوننة ونعملها مؤسستية. هيدي القصة اللي بنشتغل فيها. مش كل إنسان بيطلع بيحكي إذا بيكره هيدا أو بحب هيدا بيكون عم بيحكي سياسي. هيدي شغلة بدنا نخلص منها، لأنه السياسة ما بتنبنى لا على الكره ولا على الحب الأعمى. نحن السياسة بدنا نبنيها على طرق مضبوطة، على طرق مؤسسة، على أرقام، على أفعال، وعلى فاكتس، يعني على اشياء صح. وخصوصا انه بظل هيدا الطريقه الاعلام عم بيشتغل فيها والمتاح لجميع انواع العالم، صار في كتير اشياء مضلله فيها تمرق وفيها تكون عم تنتشر بين العالم. منشان هيك دوركم، اذا انتم مضيتوا لحتى تفوتوا بهيدا الكورس، انتم دوركم صار أصعب بكتير من غيركم، صارت المسؤولية عليكم أكبر، وصار لازم أنتوا تخلقوا سياسات جديدة لحتى نتعاطى مع بعض، لحتى نخلق مجتمع أفضل، ولحتى نخلق بلد أفضل. لإلكم كيف كانت تجربتي أنا لما كنت عم بعلم هون؟ كان كتير هين علي إنه يفوت لعندي صفوف من 40 ل 250 واحد. يعني وقتها كنت أعلم بريميد كان الهول بالكيمستري يكون ملان، لأنه كان في كتير ناس بتحب إنه تفوت على البريميد. ما بيأثر، كان أهين شيء عندي إنه أضبط الصف وقال لهم إنه هول الرولز والريجوليشنز، لأنه مجبورين يقعدوا ويسكتوا لحتى ياخدوا علامة منيحة. ما كان في تحدي كتير كبير. تحدي كان لما قررت أنا كل هيدي المعلومات اللي طلعتها من هون من الAUB بدي طبقها وبدي أخدها لشاركها مع المجتمع. هون كان التحدي الأكبر، إنه نخلق سيستمز بريت السيستم اللي راكب، لحتى يصير في عنا so many systems outside that resemble AUB. يعني بدنا نخلق سيستمز بريت هيدا المطرح الحلو لحتى يصير بيشبه الAUB. وبليز بليز بليز آخر مسج بدي أقول لكم إياه حتى ما طول، لأنه مثل ما قالت لينا تفاجأنا إنه في جلسة للجان المشتركة هلا، وأنا مضطرة فل بسرعة وبعتذر. بليز لما تطلعوا من هون وتدرسوا هيدا الكورس او تدرسوا غيره، بس هيدا الكورس كتير مهم، ما حدا يقول انه بالAUB بتطبق الاشياء وبريت الAUB ما بتطبق الاشياء. ايه هيدا لبنان؟ لا، لبنان اللي هن عملوه بلا سياسات مزبوطة هيك وصلنا لنتيجة خراب ودمار. لبنان اللي نحن بدنا نبنيه معكم، لأنه أنتم عم تتعلموها بطريقة مزبوطة، بدنا إياه يتطبق بقلب الكورس وبقلب الجامعة وبقلب البلد. وشكراً.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. We totally understand. As I said, unlike other parliamentarians, our colleagues are serious about the discussions in the parliamentary commissions. We're going to take 10 to 15 minutes to review the course with the course coordinator. First of all, I want you to welcome Tala Nassif, our young colleague who worked on this course, who put together all the resources, but who also included in the course something that is very important for us, which is the lived experiences of women in politics in Lebanon. This is the feminist methodology that we use. We rely on lived experiences, and we rely on lived experiences of women to tease out lessons and to reproduce and replicate these lessons. So, Tala, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be here in a room filled of young women willing to learn and to advance issues in women's political participation in Lebanon. So we're going to go through the course quickly. So first of all, we've started working on the course outline between July and August 2024, where we were researching, doing our desk research to have a proposal to be able to submit this. Then, unfortunately, like many things that were happening in the country, the project was put on hold for the period of September to December 2024, as we were readjusting to the reality of the war that we were facing. But we picked it up directly after. So between January and October 2025, the scripts were being written, the desk research was being done, and we were in back and forth feedback rounds with UN Women on the content of the course. Come October 2025 and November 2025, we actually started filming, editing, and developing the course platform online so that it would become accessible by many students in Lebanon. And finally, today in December 2025, we're happy to say that the course is finally live. So this work doesn't come very naturally, doesn't come very easily. It involves lots of partnership, lots of stakeholders, lots of interviews, and lots of learned experiences from people who have actually experienced and lived this on a daily basis. So to talk about the key metrics of the course, we have over 33 videos that accompany students throughout the entire experience. They are interactive videos, so including testimonies, including narratives, and are divided across 4 modules, which we will see in the next slide. We also have over 12 speakers who joined us in the course and gave testimonies on their lived experiences, as well as quizzes. So every time the module ends, it is followed up by a quiz where students need to test their knowledge and to get a minimum grade to be able to move forward to the next section. Additionally, we have around 80 additional resources, including articles, including videos, including web sources that students can also add to their database and to their portfolio so that they can learn a little bit more about them. So the first module of the course talks about the history of women's political participation and leadership in Lebanon. It follows the entire history of the country in parallel to the feminist history and tries to find a thread in between the two. The second module is more about understanding the political system in Lebanon, how parliamentarians are elected, what are the current policies that are in the country, and how these can create sometimes challenges for women trying to enter the political landscape in Lebanon. The third module, which is personally my favorite, talks about the women's impact on policy and governance in Lebanon, and this is where we have a very rich database of lived experiences from women who talk about the challenges that they faced, who talk about the projects they pioneered, who talk about the individual initiatives that they were leading, and serve as an example to how actually students can take these learnings and implement them in daily life. And the first module is on advocacy, activism, and strategies, pushing forward the knowledge needed to be able to actually come up with an advocacy campaign, identify its objectives, and to pioneer in certain initiatives. So we will go deeper now into each of the modules. First of all, the history of women's political participation in Lebanon. This module is really about the historical facts that have taken place over the last decades, and tackling the integration of women in politics in Lebanon. First, we start by presenting the 2025 Gender Gap Report and discussing the structural gender inequalities in Lebanon. by gathering certain key data points, we see that gender inequality in Lebanon is not just related to political participation, but it starts as an economic challenge, as an educational challenge, and as well as social barriers that sometimes many women face. Then we start diving into the real historical facts behind what happened, the achievements and milestones of women throughout history, highlighting the different phases of women's rights and feminist activism in Lebanon, and creating a parallel between the country's history, the independence, the formation of the Ta'if Agreement, the civil war, and how this can be parallel to the simultaneous feminist history that was taking place at the time. And then we end this module by having testimonies, introducing key historical figures through their achievements, such as Ibtihaj Kaddoura, Angela Jarda Khouri, and Linda Matar. So the first module is very history intensive, but it's also very rich, because understanding the past can also be a huge platform to pushing forward and shaping the future. The second module is more on the administrative side of things, so understanding the political system in Lebanon and its shortcomings. Unfortunately, we only learned this once in school in the civic books, so the Tarbiyah books, and then we forget that this even happens. But as responsible adults, we have this duty and this need for knowledge to actually understand how these processes work, because if we don't understand how they work, then we will not be able to see how we can push forward the change. So this is exactly the aim of this module, in tackling the history of the Lebanese legislative system, how it became to what it is today, and the formation of the Lebanese parliament, while also talking about how these policies and these laws can also create challenges for women, can create barriers, and create an imbalance in opportunities between women who are trying to run for candidacy and men. Then we start to discuss the challenges and barriers faced by women in politics in Lebanon, the legal challenges, the lack of the gender quota, for example, in the parliament, and then also touching on political, sectarian, social, economic barriers to the integration of women in political life. And we also have a very nice testimony from Amal Sharif on the intersectional barriers and the challenges faced by women with disabilities in the Lebanese political sphere. So this is where we see that several issues are starting to be layered one after the other, and we really try to unpack how these issues, all of them together, and how these segmentations can create real structural inequalities in the Lebanese parliament. Then we start talking about the power of representation, women's impact on policy and governance in Lebanon. First, we start on the role of women in initiating change in today's political sphere, starting with an interview with Lamia Moubayed on good governance and public financial management. Then we start to talk about the different work that has been done on social protection, and we have different testimonies from, for example, Minister Hanine El-Sayed. And then we discuss the role of women in initiating change in today's political sphere, an interview with Parliament member Inaya Ezzeddine on criminalizing sexual harassment, a case study from Najat Saliba on her work on environmental issue, and an interview with Halima Kakour on the ongoing efforts to pass the quota law. So this module, as I was telling you before, is my favorite because we can actually take the stories, we can take the successes and put them into action to really see where change has been made, where certain goals have been pushed forward, and what the successes of these have been. And I would like to add that a very nice touch in this module is also, when I was watching them back, is also the lived experiences of women that talk about the feminist network that supported them to actually be able to achieve these goals. So first we see the actual achievements they were able to make, but then we understand that the network and the feminist platform was also a huge support to them to be able to get there. And finally, Module 4, which is the most actionable of them all, where we discuss advocacy, activism, and strategies, where course learners will get the practical tools needed to actually push forward the participation of women in political landscapes in Lebanon. We start with building coalitions and network. We discuss how coalition building can be a catalyst for political activism, and also layer it with case studies, two case studies actually. First of all, with the Committee of Families of the Kidnapped and Disappeared, and as well the Alliance of Migrant Workers in Lebanon. So kind of unpacking what role coalition building can play. Then we start to talk about grassroots mobilization, explaining what the bottom-up approach is, case studies on the Beirut blast, and how the feminist network was able to unify their efforts and create actual change, as well as mobilization amid the war escalation in September 2024, and the role that several organizations, specifically women-led organizations, were able to play. Then we start to talk about the advocacy campaigns, the tools needed for planning, strategizing, implementing, and actually evaluating a successful advocacy campaigns. What are the main areas of work that should be focused on? How do we set an objective? How do we set a goal? How do we evaluate a campaign? And then we talk about the case study of Nuqta. It's called A Crime. Finally, we discuss lobbying and policy influence to present the strategies for lobbying for gender equality through activism, and as well, we have a very nice case study on the Salma Agreement. So this module is really the one where you have to take the most notes, because this kind of information is very easy to say, but to be actually able to be put it into action, it's very important to understand specifically the theory that comes behind creating an advocacy campaign and how we can push it forward to create success. Here we have a short video, but I'm not sure how I can make it play from here. Okay. The video is mainly about how we can sign up for the course. So it's a screen recording of the platform where you simply have to enter your email, you will get a verification email, and then you will be able to go through the modules one at a time. It's very nice, it's very interesting. You can't skip the videos, which is great news for us because you have to go through all the learnings, and then you are met with the final quiz. So it's important to mention that this is a platform that has been recently developed. So of course we have technical changes that are being done on a daily basis. In case you encounter any of them, please feel free to get back to us to tell us what the issue is so that we can check it forward with our development team. And I would like to add that also the content of the course can be refined as needed. So as well, if you have any feedback for us, we would be more than happy to implement it into the course. So this is just a small look into the back end and how the view would be for participants. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoy learning about this, and looking forward to the changes you will be able to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The course is self-paced, so it's basically at your own convenience. We will also be advertising it because we would like to have a broad outreach. We would like to have an uptake, of course, to any young person interested, and young women also essentially interested to enter the field of politics. As I have said, we have a slight change in the program because our colleagues, Dr. Inaya and Dr. Oh, okay. So we're going to have a video first, and then we will start with the last segment of today, which is an interactive conversation.
Well, it has been very disappointing for women all across Lebanon.
Hello, and welcome to our course. My name is Tala, and I'll be your guide on this journey to explore the important role women have played in shaping Lebanese politics through this interactive learning experience.
Empowering youth, especially young women, to participate meaningfully in public life is not only a matter of equity, but a vital investment in the future of democratic institutions.
UN Women Lebanon is working to close the gap and make leadership truly inclusive.
We encourage you to approach this course as a space for reflection and dialogue, one that not only informs, but also motivates you to contribute to more inclusive and responsive governance in Lebanon.
These videos will offer a historical perspective on feminist history in Lebanon, provide insight into the current challenges women face in the political sphere, and feature real-world example of political activism.
نحن كنقطة وأنا كمنسقة حملات كتير اشتغلت على حملات بلبنان والمنطقة العربية. من أهم الحملات يلي اشتغلنا عليها كانت حملة اسمها جريمة. بيميز هيدا الحملة عن غير حملات إنه كانت رياكتيف كامبين. شو يعني رياكتيف كامبين وشو يعني هيدا المصطلح؟
عملت على صياغة واقتراح قانون يجرم التحرش الجنسي بوضوح، يعني كقانون مستقل عن قانون العقوبات انسجاماً مع الاتجاهات الدولية في مجال حقوق الإنسان والمساواة بين الجنسين.
انتخابات البلدية 2025 أكيد ما كانت مثل غير انتخابات أو انتخابات سبقتها، كانت أفضل بكتير. ليه؟
أول شيء من وقت ما فت على المجلس النيابي وبأنا بعتبر حقوق النساء جزء من الأجندة التشريعية اللي أنا فايتة على أساسها.
بالنسبة لإلي الترشح مش مسألة فوز أو خسارة، بل فعل إصرار لإثبات إنه نحن هون ومن حقي أنا وغيري الترشح.
المنصة النسوية اللبنانية تأسست بعد تفجير 4 آب، وهيدا الشيء جمع حوالي 50 منظمة نسوية بيشتغلوا بلبنان لحماية المرأة اللبنانية والفتيات.
17,000 تقريبا مخطوف ومفقود بلبنان. أطلقت الصرخة هي وقتها امتدت يد الإجرام وخطفت زوجي، فتش مش عدنان بس، على عشرات على مئات، بعدين صاروا آلاف، وبالتالي هيك تجمعنا وشكلنا لجنة أهالي المخطوفين والمفقودين بلبنان.
كان عندي كتير حظ إني أشتغل مع فريق كتير كبير من النساء المقتدرات يعطوني كل الحب لحتى أقدر أقوم بواجباتي وحتى أطور شغلنا ويقدر يساهم بالتضواية على دور النساء وأهمية هيدا الدور، إن كان بالاقتصاد ولا بالقرار السياسي ولا حتى بالقرار الإداري.
بصراحة أنا كمان أول مرة بشوفه للتريلر، سو كتير حلو. Thank you so much. تالا وينك؟ Thank you Tala, really. That's a great piece of work. I'm going to invite Lamia Moubayed, and I will be with you in lieu of Dr. Najat. And what we will do is I have a couple of questions for Lamia, who's also in the course, and then I want to open the floor for your questions around the course, around, in general, women's political participation in Lebanon, and then we would like to invite you all for a networking lunch outside, and I'm so happy to see so many of you here. Lamia, this is not the first time that you're here, obviously. Also, may I remind everybody, also an alumni, an Ayoubite.
You're
so
totally biased. You're
Abadan, not at all, not at all. Lamia, you're featured in the course, and you're always with us, actively engaging in these important conversations. So basically, I want to reach out to your own experience, to your own journey. After these years, and your journey also in leadership positions in the public sector, and you have framed certain sectors that are unusual: gender and public finance, gender and the care economy, care-centered policies. So looking at your own journey as an accomplished leader in the public sector, what are the key learnings? What would you like to share beyond what you have shared in the course?
Thank you, Lina. Congratulations. It's such an amazing work. وإن شاء الله يكون prelude to other work and other courses that deal also with women and money, because I think this is the area, not because the area I work with, but because as years came by, I was shown by practice why women need to be literate about how money is spent, not only in their homes, but in their community and largely and most importantly in their government. So بس take a few words. I studied agricultural engineering here, and I became an economist.
And then by accident, I became a governance specialist, and I took did lots of work on policy and public policy research. So this is my journey. My journey has been shaped by my first career at the UN and then working on public issues in Lebanon. And I was telling Leila, a mother of Maria, who's also a Inaya Moubayed and today interning at the Institute of Finance that I run, that I somehow don't regret, not even when my salary became like $100 and something during the crisis, I never regretted leaving the UN to work for my own country with my own government, although it has been, as you might imagine, not an easy journey. So I took over the Institute of Finance, which became the Institute of Finance Basil Fleihan, to the memory of Basil, Allah yarhamu. It was a small bilateral training project under the French government, French Ministry of Finance, and we were asked to build its capacity to become a public institution. I immersed myself in a world I knew very little about, and learned that it's not about spreadsheets and it's not about training, it's all about power. And power gets also another arm, which is money. So it's about who decides how public money is spent, who gets to say what in what decision. And since then, I started dedicating more and more time, a kind of 2 decades plus, to improve understanding of governance and to make our young interns and also the young people, women and men who come to us as students who want to know more about public finance, to understand that it is everyone's job to understand governance and to not become experts, but actually become better citizens. And this is where why I am here at the Asfari Institute, because one of the pillars of citizenship is, of course, understanding the choices that we make and lobbying for the choices that our society needs to make. And one of them is, of course, gender inclusion, whether in politics, in public life, or in any matter whatsoever that concerns the well-being of society. So that's my opening words. I just wanted to share a little bit of a personal, because the personal is as important as the research and substantive. We need to know the people behind the decisions to understand how the decisions are made.
Actually, not only is it as important, the main contribution of feminist theory is that the personal is political, and I think your journey is a good example. But I want to bring an example from a completely different continent. In the 80s, one of the first MPs in New Zealand was my thesis supervisor, Marilyn Waring. And she was in her mid-20s when she became MP, and she was assigned haphazardly to the Finance Committee. And she would just, all her time, all her tenure, her breakthrough was to making her colleagues explain to her in simple words. And she kept saying, I don't understand. Explain to me. Where does this number come from? Who has decided this is the way we should spending? And the main question, in addition to what you said, who decides, who gets to say what, is who's benefiting at the end of the day? Because the resources are there. It's about the process of decision making. And the second point that you're talking about is really about, I think, an active and informed citizenship, essentially, which is also a journey, because you're not born with it. It's through practice. And we're hoping that this course will accelerate a status of being an informed citizen, making informed decisions. Lamia, I want to get a little bit more personal right now. You are currently the senior advisor to the Prime Minister, to Prime Minister Nawaf Salam. And for you, what is on top of your agenda when you advise the Prime Minister in terms of the full-fledged participation of women in decision-making and governance?
I'm the troublemaker. يعني luckily for him and unfortunately for us, I'm not his, like full-time advisor. So I work with him on specific portfolios. One of them is, of course, the IMF file. We're doing a very interesting diagnosis of governance and corruption and all the financial areas of Lebanon. And believe me, you don't want to see the diagnosis, but you want to see what is interesting in this diagnosis, that there is a roadmap. Okay, so that's the happy part of the report. There is a very interesting roadmap. And we all know we had lots of high expectation in this government, and today we realize that it's not as easy. Things cannot go as simple. But let's say the good news is at least we know we have a better understanding, let's say, evidence-based understanding of the weaknesses, and we have a roadmap. So that's part of being here. Being part of this work was itself, and if he shows me to do this work, is because the boldness that we bring in when we're women and we see all this money was being an opportunity that is missed elsewhere, right? And misused sometimes. So being part to find the solution takes a lot of drive, and women are good at that. So this agenda for me is not about, again, numbers and about diagnosis. Like, this is the problem in the governance structure of the BDL or of the Special Investigative Commission or of customs or of taxes, because these are the issues that makes this country run or not run. But it's about finding consensusly and sometimes not consensusly the solutions and committing to doing them in the short, medium, and long term. I don't think a man would have been able to get to put all these 49 or 52 people who worked on this diagnosis together, and with discussion with the experts to bring in the solutions that nobody wants, very few people want. But we know why these solutions are important in the medium term for ourselves and our children. So part of being in the power business, and I was thinking about that when I was listening to Najat and to Inaya, MPs, both very respectable ladies, is how not to give up, how to stand in every meeting and keep saying no, and keep holding on to this is the norms, this is the international, we will not adapt it to our local context just to, again, miss the opportunity. That's the hardest stuff. You wake every morning, you see all this bad diagnostic, but you still keep within you this responsibility, this drive, this power to keep on. And you're opening just a bracket to say that there is in this room somebody who wanted to give up, like a couple of weeks ago, and we warned her not to give up. So thank you, Joël, for whatever you're doing and not doing. But we know you will keep on moving the political agenda, political participation of women agenda in this country.
I don't think Joël giving up is even a possibility. So even if I want to open the floor for a couple of questions, particularly from the young students from LU, but maybe I want to ask you one last thing. You have really worked very hard on developing and framing something that is not common knowledge, gender and public finance, gender and procurement. For many, the link, although it's quite evident, but for many, it's something that is alien. So maybe if you could just explain why, and it connects, of course, to what you said, women, politics, money, and then equal power. So maybe just a few words on clarification on this, and then I'll ask folks for questions.
Thank you, Lina. Yes, I'd love to say a couple of words on this monster called public finance that to me also it was an alien concept. What is this? What are we talking about? And I started learning about public money management as I started working with the Institute of Finance, and I discovered that this is really where it matters. In not long ago, before the crisis and the worst crisis that hit us, we decided to create something called the budget journey through a tool called the Lebanon Citizen Budget. And this was the kind of the start of a long journey about understanding how the money gets decided, who decides on what, who spends the money of what. And then it was published in paper, and then we decided that no, I mean, the reach needs to, and this was in the middle of the crisis. So we said, okay, we're at home, we're COVID, what can we do? So we built, with the help of pro bono support, a whole platform called the Lebanese Citizen Budget Dashboard, which actually shows you through very interactive graphs, colors, and Maria here, she's interning at the Institute, she knows how it works. If you want, you can ask her.
Also Ayubite.
And also Ayubite, of course. So you don't need a PhD to understand about public money. What's interesting is that there are concepts, you know, like knowledge bites, which explains to you public finance. And what we tried to come up out of budget is a better understanding of how can budget work for women. Because we think when we say gender budgeting and that this is an additional budget that we do. No, it's not. It is the same budget that we need to look at from an angle and see how it works for women, how it works for children, how it works for other, you know, brackets of society, so that the response of the so that the goals or the objective, developmental objective that we all aim to, have a money translation. What does it mean to, you know, just have an objective of I don't know, like 100% equality in access to tertiary education, but you don't have, you know, the funding or the money committed to achieve this objective. So, right, it becomes about haki fadi. And we got some interesting work done with, of course, UN Women and Jilan, thank you for the support, to make this work also visible to parliamentarians, because they get to decide. So with MP Inaya, we tried to explain the concepts to most of the parliamentarians, even those that looked at the concept as not, you know, something that they want to delve in, but we made progress. I mean, we came, if we look behind, I mean, where we came, or it started and where we are now, there are much, much more openness to go to the step 2, which is budget tagging, meaning that every expenditure you tag it, is this serving women an equity agenda or no? So hopefully, because we have a very old finance law, they date back Ottomans and post-Ottomans sometimes, all these, the new reforms will bring in new laws. We started a very interesting reform in public procurement and left the room for what we call gender procurement, so that women get to have a chance of accessing this purchasing market, this big market of public money that the government spend on acquiring things, including, you know, papers and pens, and so these are huge markets. So the government being biggest markets, having some share given to women, this is an area. To budget being something also that can be used to make sure that it is actually a well-thought gender budget. But we need it's a long way, we need a long process for, and sometimes the process can be shortened. And the more we have people aware, the more we have women in parliament, the more we have women in government, the quicker we achieve these objectives. So what looks to be very long can be shortened. This is why, again, all these interconnections, we need more women in power. we need them to understand that they have not only access to power, but I mean, we need to make them the vehicle or the messengers of our own or whatever societies, what makes society progress. If we have more women in parliament or in DJs or in our judges, it's not a matter of count or accounting. What matters is that they actually carry the agenda forward. And we need to make sure that these two let's say, tracks work together, not against each other. It's good to have reformists, but we need them to actually move the agenda forward.
And just to conclude on this and then open the floor if anybody would have any question. I think what we're seeing are different pieces of the puzzle to accelerate or to contribute to accelerating women's participation in politics in Lebanon. And I want to pull them apart. So the work on quota that 50-50 is doing and all the lobbying on the quota system, the presence of women and troublemakers actually not being satisfied with superficial answers or by being dismissed. Knowledge and learning and training through this course. So, I mean, for us, it's just an ecosystem where we're all doing our part. And truly, Jaylan and UN Women, we're very cognizant and mindful and appreciative of the role that you're playing in each of these processes. And as always, I always like to acknowledge the work of two people in UN Women, aside from Jaylan, Yara and Ali, always in the back, but always like we have 5 phone calls a day or something, sometimes. And sometimes I don't answer them because they call a lot. So, but all of the pieces of this really complex puzzle, they converge together, which is basically circles back to what you're saying in terms of everything that you need to make this happen. And that's why also in the course we relied a lot on the lived experiences of Inaya, Lamia, Joel, women from civil society, to highlight the diversity, and one can make a choice of where they want to intervene or at which level, but all these levels are super important. And now that I have spoken a lot and I wasn't supposed to, I want to give the floor to questions or comments or any thoughts before we break. Yes, please.
Would you like to raise your hands?
And your name, please?
Mona Fakhreddin, a student at the Lebanese University. I have a very general question. What is more important for women, equality or fairness?
Oh, we needed a couple of days. Okay. You want an answer now? Yeah. Can I do it? I love this. Yes. Huh? Of course, of course. These are two very different things, completely different things. And they have been introduced into the narrative actually to divert attention really from equality, because fairness is, being kind, giving you something that you like, making sure, but equality is a political position. It's actually making sure that everybody is at equal footing. Everybody has the same condition and has the capacity to enjoy all these conditions and to make choices, which is completely different from fairness. So one can be fair to another without, out of the goodness of their heart. But equality is actually an aspiration for all of us. So don't confuse them. They are completely different. And one is political and one is circumstantial, individual. So what we're looking at is more of a political aspiration for everybody enjoying the equal rights and enjoying the same capacities to access these rights.
I just have a question. Seeing as most people here are women, which is great, it feels like it is very bubble. So we are the ones who are talking about it, the women, MPs are the ones that are coming. So how could we try to extend this knowledge or this initiative to the men, for example, that do unfortunately have most of the power now?
Well, this is a great question, and this is part of being in such a place that encourages critical thinking. I think we need to avoid bubbles. I think we need to go for more diversity because I learned that when you have a diversity and people, men and women working together, coming alongside man, you perform better. I mean, you build on of course, the power of each other. So this is well known, but we need to make sure that we're not kind of imprisoned by this bubble. So outreach should be stronger, engagement should be stronger, and definitely the outcome would be stronger. In my own experience at the Institute, we have a team that tended to be more women, and we did actually a push to have more men. So we did it in reverse to have more men, and we still majority of women, but there is at least all points of view there represented, and sometimes we miss also point of view. In my line of work, when it comes to power, unfortunately, the picture is totally different, and there is a push out of women rather than a push in of women. So that's and that's the rule of the game, the rule of the power structure in our society. So yes, for not being trapped in bubbles, and also yes, for acknowledging how difficult it is to break other bubbles. Yeah.
Thank you. There's somebody in the back, and then I want to ask Mary, our colleague, for her experience when she was in the cabinet in Jordan. Fadda, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. Angela Saadi, I'm going to be joining AUB next semester, hopefully. I just was wondering, on the same note of representation and inclusivity, if the course includes experiences of migrant domestic workers, also refugee women in Lebanon, so I feel like that's really important, and it's often a bit marginalized in this course, and also just in general, because I noticed there's a big focus on Lebanese women, but I'm wondering, in general, in the feminist scene in Lebanon, how much migrant domestic workers, or just migrant women in general, are included in that feminist space? Thank you.
Is Tala here? Okay. Because I want her to address this, because it's part of the course. We're going to address this, but let me take a comment from Mary, where this is a course about Lebanon, and you're from Jordan, but you have this experience of being a minister in the cabinet, and I remember your cabinet had the highest number of women. And I would really appreciate your thoughts about this.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you, Lamia. It's really a pleasure to be here, and congratulations on this course. Maybe in the future, the Asfari can replicate it to other countries in the region. That would be fantastic.
Maybe Jaylan can tell her colleagues in Jordan.
That would be fantastic. So, a few points. When I was in the cabinet in Jordan for 2 years, 2018, 2019, in the beginning it was the highest number of women. We were 8 out of 28 ministers. Since then, there was never again that it came back to 8. So it was really a moment. What my reflection is that the 8 of us were highly competent technocrats with zero political base. And that is the difference between women ministers and men ministers. I don't know if this applies to Lebanon, but we got to where we were out of our own capacities and professionalism, while a lot of the men, it was where they came from, what party, there were other political considerations related to that. So I felt that as women, we were a really competent group of women. the missed opportunity, and maybe that's a lesson learned, is that the women in the parliament, who were basically based on quota, and us did not see eye to eye. So here we were trying to push things, change things, but there was no alliance between the parliament, whether parliamentarians or senators. And I think that is something that, as women in politics, we need to be aware of. How do we ensure that all levels of government are aligned and supporting each other as women? The third thing is we were more aware of the women we were managing. So it was very easy to spot in any ministry women to be promoted, to be supported, to lead on technical committees, to lead on international conferences, while I think the men didn't have this nuance to notice who is actually doing well. So there was one case, the woman was a director in the Ministry of Planning and International Cooperation, and she was a dynamo of capacity, doing very, very well. And all the former male ministers before me just benefited. And it took me to promote her to become undersecretary, and after she became undersecretary, she became minister. But if I did not push and I had to fight for her, the men would have benefited from her presence rather than making sure that she's in a position of power.
Thank you. I hope you're going to write about this experience, Mary. And I remember also the context of mansplaining and the usual. I want to ask Tala to respond to the young student.
Yes. Apologies, I was in the bathroom. So the course mainly focuses on the different intersectional challenges that women face. We do have a case study on migrant domestic workers, but I don't believe that there is one for refugee Syrian women. And the reason for that is that the main, you will see once you get into the course, you have the main 3 or 4 videos in the beginning that talk about the theory and why things are the way that they are, without necessarily going into specifics, but talking about historical facts, talking about the events that led us to this situation today. And then we have 1 or 2 case studies on each topic, if you want. So the migrant domestic workers was one that was used as intersectional challenges. And we also have a very interesting case study from Ahmad Sharif on women in political spheres with disabilities as well, which is one of the intersectional dialogues that are not really talked about at the moment.
Thank you, Tala. And actually, both cases show the different levels of discrimination on top of each other. But definitely, there are different areas that have not been covered. And we're hoping, as people sign up for this course and give us their feedback, this is not going to be set in stone. The course will always be there, but not as it is right now in its first iteration. We're looking for feedback so that we will continuously expand, change, etc. Before we close, maybe I wanted to ask Joël to reflect on this matter. Joël's experience is also featured in the course.
So thank you so much. Actually, I have expressed 2 weeks ago that I'm tired and exhausted, but that we will continue definitely, because I mean this is built in. This is something we cannot leave, and it's not only me; it's everyone who is working for the cause actually. Yeah, we will continue, that's for sure. Now, really congratulations for this course. I'm so excited to dig more and see what are the information that would like to know about women, what is positive actually, what they did, their achievements, their challenges, and I hope that it will, as you said, Dina, it will be updated because we need to have something like this online, especially. And it's a great legacy, actually, that we cannot find in any place. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being here and being always supportive for women, be it for you and women. And as you said, Jaylan, Yara, and Ali, precisely. And everyone here in this room. So thank you so much.
So the last word, Lamia.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to express again my admiration and solidarity with all the women who are here today. I had a quick comment and a question. Speaking about how to go beyond the bubble, I wanted to share the experience of Canada, that one determinant factor is to have had a male prime minister who said without apologies, I am a feminist. So that was a total game changer for us. And also who walked the talk. That meant having gender parity in cabinet. It also had an impact in my sphere, in the diplomatic world. When I started my career, there were only 20% women ambassadors, and now they're 50, and in some years over. So it's a question of action. I spoke about the struggle that we still have in Canada. We've made a lot of progress, but I think the piece that was missing is the commitment and the engagement that the government has had to continue promoting gender equality at home. We have actually a program at home called Equal Voices that is designed to promote the participation of women in politics, but also abroad. So in the context of a retreat and a backlash that we see internationally, even amongst progressive countries against gender equality, Canada is still there, we're still engaged. We had a feminist international assistance policy. If that changes and the name changes, have no fear, we are still there, and definitely in Lebanon, engaged with UN Women on this issue. So thanks again.
Thank you. Before I give the floor to Jaylan, Sarah, I remembered as you were talking the first cabinet of Prime Minister Trudeau, and when he was asked by the media, how come you have a 50-50 cabinet? He said, because it's 2015. So hopefully 2025 and 2026 will be better. I mean, we have doubts with the backlash, but inshallah. Jaylan, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I do remember that moment as well. I just wanted to also reflect on some of the questions that were asked very briefly. One, the question on fairness versus equality, because I do feel that it's sometimes thrown in there to create confusion. And typically what we desire is what we call substantive equality, which is equality of outcomes. And I'll give you an example. For instance, you see in education, a lot of young women and men, they graduate from universities, as I always say, equally fit and ready to join the labor market. But once you join the labor market, you find yourself in a situation where often women drop out of the workforce around marriage, because marriage can be quite disempowering if you don't have the right systems in place. If you don't have an employer, well, you have a gender wage gap for once. You have occupational segregation where women tend to be clustered in specific positions, and therefore that justifies a lower pay. You have there is exposure to harassment. You have what we call the care responsibilities that women disproportionately take on. So you find all these hurdles that you face, right? Even though you've graduated equally fit and ready to join the workforce, then you find yourself having to exit the workforce, and you're unable to join the labor market because it's much more difficult to join back. So a lot of the policies that we speak of are policies that are meant to correct injustices that exist, right? So it's not a charity, and it's not that they're doing women a favor, right? I always say, you know, in the Arab region, we love to celebrate mothers, right? But what are you giving mothers? What are you giving her? in terms of recognition and respect, in terms of maternity, in terms of respecting her and giving her the recognition. So it's not just by celebrating Mother's Day, you have to put that into deliberate policy choices that we make in order to recognize and respect mothers. And my last, the point on male engagement, I totally agree with you. I think the challenge we face is that this becomes an ideological issue, and it should not be seen as an women's rights should not be seen as an ideological issue. It's a public policy issue. It's a human rights issue. Just as when we talk about other rights issues, they don't become ideological issues. So whenever we talk about women's rights, you have culture, you have religion, you have, and these are the issues that make it, and unfortunately, sometimes it's seen as adversaries. So when you advance women's rights, it's seen as a pie. So, women get more and then therefore men will get less. And that's not the case, right? It's about expanding the pie for the benefit of the whole of society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shailan. The last words of wisdom?
Last words of wisdom. I just want to say that it's always a fantastic convening, that power that this place has. We definitely are stepping into a new era by doing this course. But I just want to ask all those who are in the decision making in this room to have it as a first pillar. Political participation is like the one of 3 building blocks of governance. Governance is not an abstract term. It has 3 pillars: the political, the economic, and the institutional. And as we learn more about political participation, the history, the challenges, and the aspiration, complementing it with the other pillars, the economic pillar, and also the institutional, seeing that there are women that fought and that are still ready to fight the institutional fight, is also important. Help us as students, as people who look at governance as being something that is conducive to the inclusion agenda, understand better this concept, and make it work on the ground. Because from my experience, and this is a call to you, Lina, with the students teaching the course on gender and governance, we do not know how to use the levers of governance to advance the agenda. So we started in a very beautiful way with political participation. Let's not stop there. Let's go to the other 2 dimensions with the help of partners and help of the friends of the Asfari. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
We'll do more.
Again, heartfelt thanks to UN Women and our friends and colleagues in UN Women. Sarah, thank you so much for your support, and also UNDP. And thank you all. And thank you for the partners from the feminist civil society. What I missed mentioning is that Lamia is a senior international fellow with the Asfari Institute, and please read her blogs, they're amazing. And Mary, Dr. Khawar, is a member of our advisory board, so technically my boss. Just saying. Thank you so much. I want to ask the Stala, where's Stala? Thank you ever so much. This was an amazing piece of work, and you'll be with us as we roll it out and as we think together what would be its next iteration. And thank you to my colleagues. Joël, thank you for being with us always. I'm going to ask Sarah to, there is an admin issue with the students that you want to share, but there's lunch outside and a networking lunch, so please join us. Thank you ever so much, and hopefully we'll have a quiet end of the year, inshallah, and a kinder 2026. Let's see. Thank you so much, everybody.